both. There's a couple other names: Za'Darius, Greg Newsome.
Well,
Dalvin
Za'Darius is
Tomlinson.
gone. We know
assume.
that. The players basically said it in the locker room after the game yesterday. They knew, right? I mean,
Yeah, it was funny. We were standing behind Z, and he was getting dressed. He put his jacket on, and that's like the signal for the meet. And he like somehow, this is how good of a pass rusher he is. He somehow like backed up and went this way, and missed the entire.
What I don't get though is if you're Za'Darius Smith, wouldn't you be excited to get traded to the Lions?
Yeah, I just think what's he supposed to say?
Right.
That's why
he can't say it's
done. Most guys,
yeah, fair enough.
Most guys get dinged if they leave, if they run out and leave without turning around and talking.
Yeah.
In this instance, I don't know what the guy's supposed to say.
Yeah.
I think he'd welcome a trade. I think he loves the idea of a trade.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to necessarily say that probably in the losing locker room.
Sure.
So he managed to find an escape route that.
Didn't Greg Newsome say he was traded or something like that?
He didn't say. He said, "Thanks, Za'Darius. I'll be friends with him for a long time after football."
But he was talking as if he's gone.
They all were. They all were.
They all.
You saw him on the sideline a little bit.
Yeah.
I was surprised they played him.
Yeah.
I was too, especially when Mike Florio put out the tweet that a trade's expected to happen, in his words, today or tomorrow on Sunday, when they were losing 20-3 in the second quarter. Tomorrow we're going to go through player by player, who stays, who goes. But big picture, what's the best case scenario for the Browns by the end of tomorrow's deadline? Is it a full fire sale? Is it pick and choose? Big picture, what's their best?
Does any team ever really do a fire sale during the season?
No,
not in the NFL.
Not in the NFL. Well, listen, whatever they can get the highest. If they can get a number 2 pick, a second round pick somewhere for somebody that is not named Nick Chubb or Myles Garrett, clap it up. But I don't think they'll get that. That's best case scenario. I think there's a couple other people that you can maybe get 3s and 4s for. We'll probably talk about those guys tomorrow. But the reality is, I think it's good for the Browns to signal this. Hey, this didn't work this year. The best thing that you could do at this point is you need to start pushing hope. Sometimes you need to start pushing like change and to cleanse your palate, because the more you try to put putty and try to change up and sand these walls down, sometimes you need to just knock that wall down. You need to get rid of it. And I think the quicker that you do that is the better that happens. And I'm sitting here thinking, as I'm saying this in real time, it's go put DTR in and just see what happened, man. See what happened, because you need to start getting draft capital that people can get excited about. And because if they can't get a top flight quarterback or a top 10 pick, they're going to need to have some stuff that they can move up to trade up to get some pieces and parts.
Jason, will the Browns trade away 1 player, 2 to 4, or 5 or more?
2 to 4.
2 to 4. Okay.
And 2 to 4 is 2.
Ah, okay.
So,
what's your prediction? I know Za'Darius and
Za'Darius. I think Greg could go.
Could
Greg Newsome could go.
I mean, there's a lot of guys. Njoku, we just talked about.
Yeah, I don't know.
Tomlinson.
I would trade Dalvin in a second.
Oh, my God.
He's got a lot of money. He's got a lot of money left.
Yeah.
He just had his best game, though. I mean, if you're going to audition for another team.
Well, I talked about
really
that on Friday during the Channel 3 show. Like, hey, guys, you got one more chance. I thought the defense would play well because this is your audition. Whatever you put on tape is the most recent in these GM's minds going into Tuesday. But he's got a lot of money left. There's some injury concerns with him. I don't know that they'll get much of anything for him. If you could come out of this with a top 100 pick and a top 130 pick, so 2 picks in the top 130 or so, I think that's a win. I think you take that and you run with it. I have. What do you think the market is for Z? What do you think?
4th.
Florio said 5th or 6th.
Oh.
Who has any, no one has any idea if that's really
Yeah,
not.
I don't know.
Florio suggested 5th or 6th.
I'd be jumping up and down for the 4th, because what they use is spend a 5th to get him, right?
Yeah, you're probably not getting a top 100.
No.
In any sort of trade, but I would look at, for sure. I would look at Newsome.
Yeah.
I told you last week I'd trade Jameis coming off the 300-yard
Wyatt
game.
Teller could be traded.
Could be, but he's got a lot
Elijah
of money.
Moore could be traded. I mean, you're not getting much in return.
You're not getting much, but again, anyone who's not under contract beyond this year should be on the table, because
What's the point?
What's the point?
Yeah.
And even guys with just 1 year left into next year,
Yeah.
I would strongly look at as well.
That's crazy. And Jed Wills has no value.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
That's a guy for sure I would look at.
Yeah.
A team will take him as a backup.
That's another 5th-round pick, probably.
Yeah,
Or
a reclamation.
maybe 4th.
They'll look. Hey, former top 10 pick. Yeah, they got to start. They got to rebuild. They got to tear this down. They got to tear it down. It ain't nothing much here. Ain't nothing. And by the way, I keep looking at these positions and we like, oh, this is the deepest group in the. They still ain't got no linebackers. They still don't. Like,
JOK was hurt.
JOK, right.
But
that just goes to show you when you take certain people off the field, you find out what your depth is when that person ain't on the field.
That's true.
Like, all right, well, let me see you make a play. Diabate just ran around the block and just gave up a touchdown. He tried to backdoor a block. I said, bro, that's your gap. Your gap is the one the running back hit his head on the goalpost, man. Like,
I'll tell you who could get you a little bit of a decent return is the punter.
Oh, he's
Bjorkes
nice.
is playing outrageous
He's
right
nice.
He's one of the best in the league right now. So
He's nice.
There's got to be a team with a bad punter. How about Denzel Ward? What's his name? Dalvin Tomlinson and the punter to the Bengals for a 1st-round pick. You doing it?
You said what?
Ward, Tomlinson, and the punter for a 1st-round pick for the Bengals.
Of course.
If you get a first, you have to do it.
Well, you trade 3 guys though.
Trading a punter, a guy who, as good as Ward is,
Come on.
you can't count on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you mean? Like, yeah.
Another thing you have to factor into these trades is the dead cap hits.
Yes,
And
that's
I
a
don't-
big thing. And he got a lot of money.
And we don't need to get buried in salary cap minutia, but they've got enough dead bodies laying around here in the years ahead with dead cap hits coming.
You said before the cap will become a reality,
Yeah.
and the reality is that it only becomes a reality
When you screw up,
and if it could still not be a reality if Jimmy is continuing to is still okay with spending at ridiculous dollars. If there's no limit in theory to what he's willing to spend, then it won't matter ever in theory. Now, there's probably a limit to what he's willing to spend.
well, the problem is going to
Yeah.
come with Deshaun. That's where the problem lies. You have $170 million
Right.
that has to count against your cap in the years ahead. So are you going to keep him?
Yep.
And keep restructuring it year after year after year
No,
after year?
I think you
Or
got
if you cut ties with him, now you got to eat $170 million.
He's got to be here at least 2 years. He's on the roster.
well, at least one more year after this, minimum.
I think the dead cap hit is like $100 million or something.
I would keep him on the roster and tell him not come to the team.
Well, I said that
Yeah.
after the Washington game, I think. I'd send him home, pay him
Yeah.
his money and send him home.
Yeah.
But the most realistic that I'm sure there's 100 different ways to do this. The most realistic one that I've seen to this point is if you want him off the roster,
Yeah.
you designate him a June 1 cap cut. You restructure it one more time, you designate him a June 1 cap cut.
Yeah.
And a post June 1, and then I think the cap hits were $83 million next year
Yeah.
and $89 million
And then you
in 26.
and you got to live with that.
And then you're done with it. Now, again, there's other ways to do it, but if you want him off the roster,
the idea of giving a team a 1st-round pick to take him,
no,
that doesn't
you
make
can't
any
do
sense.
that.
No,
you
we
can't do that.
need
No.
we got to rebuild.
Yeah. No.
And so
No, but I just brought it up because people have suggested it.
So maybe
it's a terrible idea.
Maybe you carry him for one more year, and then you have to keep restructuring it. Maybe you carry him for one more year and then cut him in
My
year 5.
head's hurting.
Oh, my
I know
God.
that's why I didn't want to go down the cap minutia road.
Go ahead, Mike. This
We're
is,
gonna, At 12:40, we're going to go back to the Cavs, preview the game against the Bucks.